Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Celtics Double Take podcast. Dylan McCaffrey with James Pond here again today. Today, we're talking NBA Finals, Game 1. We're getting down to it here. It's been depressing the last couple of days, being like, man, there's no game on tonight. This is going to be a long, cold summer without basketball, but we're finally here, the promised land. Bucks Suns, Game 1. I'm pulling for the Bucks or the Suns still. Suns in 4 for me.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I think we've been rooting for the Suns honestly like since last round. I've been rooting for the Suns since the Celtics lost, but that's just me.
Basically, after the first round of just like Blazers go down, Celtics go down, LeBron goes down. Yeah, it's the Suns for me. And I'm glad this is the matchup we got out of the teams that were left. I was hoping that these were the two teams. These are the two teams I'd be least upset seeing get to the finals.
True.
So just right off the bat, worst and best thing from Game 1 for you. What do you think?
Best is, I'm sure it's going to be the same thing for you. It's Chris Paul just having an absolute championship caliber showing tonight. I mean, not tonight, but last night. I mean, the guy is the best player on the court. And I think that's like pretty crazy to say. Like, I think 2 years ago, if you had said that Chris Paul was going to get to the finals, Giannis is going to be there, and Chris Paul was going to be the better player on the court, I think you would be shunned or people look at you crazy. And now it just seems so obvious the way that he can like get to his spots. I mean, Drew Holiday, I think, has to figure something out. I think he's got to be on CP3 a little bit more, as opposed to Devin Booker. But man, I mean, Chris Paul really showing that it's been a long time coming, that he's been screwed over this many times to get here. He's got that chip on his shoulder. Worst, I almost feel bad saying the worst because it didn't really like affect Game 1 per se, but Dario Saric, this guy is. He's essential for the Suns just because they're actually not like as deep as you think. Like they lose a guy like Cam Payne, and then everyone is like, oh, what are the Suns going to do without Cam Payne? Like it's one of those teams where each guy kind of has a little bit of weight on him. And that's why when you look at a guy like Dario Saric, who, especially in small ball lineups, the fact that was a forward like 4 years ago and is now a center at times for them. This is a very switchable guy that now you got to see Jay Crowder get a lot more minutes, even though he already had 33 in this game. You're going to have to go deeper in the bench. More minutes for 8 and 2, who I feel like has had fresh legs, and that's allowed him to have these monster games. I don't know. I hope that it won't affect the outcome, but it certainly is not what the Suns needed.
No, yeah, that was tough to see. The only silver lining was seeing Frank Kaminsky check into the game.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not worth it in the end. Honestly, like since you took Chris Paul, I'll say the best thing for me is the fact that Giannis went out there and played and like looked decently healthy. Like even on a bum knee, he can just play center. Like he's the finals, he's got to play. And but he looked like mostly himself last night. And so these finals, despite all of the injuries in the playoffs, including on both of these teams, like it seems like at least the finals we're gonna get to see the best version of the Suns and the Bucks. And no one's going to be saying that it was a rigged or it was like a gimme championship because Giannis was out when they were playing the Bucks, or Chris Paul was out playing the Suns.
People are going to say this is a faulty championship already. I think by now with all the injuries, everyone's going to call this the next Mickey Mouse ring. I don't know.
I think that if you replayed these playoffs over and over again, you get a different champion every time. Like, I think that it would be like most years, it's like, oh yeah, the Warriors would have gone all the way. Like LeBron would have been unstoppable. But like, I think if you keep replaying these, then it turns out completely differently every time.
Yeah.
And my worst thing, honestly, it's Drew Holiday. Like he's the third star on this Bucks team. And he really I haven't watched him a ton this year. And he just provided the nothing on offense. He had 10 points. And if you're just saying like, oh, their guard power is Booker and Chris Paul and yours is Drew Holiday and Middleton, like Holiday, if he's not going to stop them on defense, has to contribute on offense. And he really just didn't do either. He had 9 assists, but he needs to put up more than 10 points if they're going to have any kind of a chance. He's their third best scorer.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about how Drew Bledsoe was just such
Eric Bledsoe.
Sorry, Eric Bledsoe, not Drew Bledsoe. But both guys, in a way, became very expendable very quickly. And I think that with Drew Holiday, he was supposed to be this kind of answer, the third guy that the Bucks need to become a championship contender. And for a while, the fit was looking very smooth, but it's just. I don't know if it's because he can't generate offense by himself. I don't know if it's because he's lost confidence altogether. he just hasn't been that guy. And I think that if the Bucks are to win the series, you're right. I mean, he's got to put up more than 4 for 14. I think defensively, he's doing the best that he can. And I think that like the Suns are just a hard team. Like I saw a tweet that was I don't know, rang true for me. It was like whatever reason, whether it be injuries or luck or whatever you want to give the Suns for being here, one of the biggest reasons has to be that whatever you throw at their pick and roll, like they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that for Drew Holiday, like if this is a one-on-one basketball contest, I think he shines a lot more. I think he did that to Dame when he was in New Orleans and like pushed Dame out of the first round. He can do that, but the Suns just don't play that way. Like,
yeah,
you can throw Drew Holiday on CP3, but he's going to find a way to get others involved with the pick and roll. And also, then you have Middleton on Booker. You got to try to throw Giannis on one of these guys. No, so like you're kind of looking around and saying like, how can you blame Drew Holiday for not having that same effectiveness when he's kind of getting shifted around courtside to courtside and being put through a Chris Paul's little scheme?
Yeah. I think that the two-headed monster that the Suns have, like, honestly, could work on the Celtics. Like, they have, like, it's Chris Paul and it's Devin Booker just getting a high screen. Like, Tatum and Brown, that's what they're supposed to be. They just can't know that they can't create for everyone else the way that like Chris Paul and Devin Booker do. Like, this Suns team, I feel like is going to be a prototype for basketball. Like, everyone was just switching to, like, you need to just be able to take threes from everywhere. This team is proving that, like, you can like brother pick and roll, take the mid range, like just be throwing lobs at like to your big man, like Devin or DeAndre Ayton having almost 20-20 last night. If Chris Paul doesn't steal the last rebound, I
kind of want to push back on this though, just because I know the NBA is trendy and it's always been a trendy league, right?
Yeah.
Like with Steph like changing the game, whatever it might be, LeBron from a star, also playmaker type of landscape, like he created that. But I just I don't want to call this a fluke championship because it's not. But I don't think we should look at Phoenix all of a sudden and say, let's model every NBA basketball team after Phoenix. And it's for multiple reasons. One being, like you have to admit, their path to the finals has been lucky to say the least. They've earned what they've gotten, and they've beaten the people in front of them. But am I gonna model my team after this team, after this playoff run? Like, I think we need to pump the brakes just a little bit on that. But also the fact that Chris Paul, there's no other player like Chris Paul in the league. So true. if you're going to try to like model your team after this, it's just not going to look the same. If you put Dame in there, you put like all the other star point guards, like maybe with the exception of Steph Curry in there, it's not going to look the same. It's not going to have the same effectiveness. And I think that although I understand the trends, like, I don't know if we can just say like, you just need to have Chris Paul and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, and like then you have a championship team. It's like even it's a great team, but even in this year, like you said, it goes a completely different way in every other alternate universe.
Yeah, they're just like the three-headed monster they have. I just didn't expect. Like we saw, like you have like Westbrook and Harden and Capella, and like that just didn't work out. There's so many examples of like, oh, you have John Wall and Bradley Beal. Like you have like your 2-star guards. Booker and Chris Paul, I feel like have been the best to do it in a while. Like LeBron or Kevin Durant has been like the centerpiece, like a bigger player has been the centerpiece of so many teams. Like the fact that they just have 2 guards that they just run plays for on either side of the offense is incredible to watch, in my opinion. They're not just like hunting for threes. They're not just taking step backs. Like it's beautiful basketball that the Suns play. I like if it was 100%. Suns and Jazz, I only wouldn't have been that upset because they play different, but both just very beautiful brands of basketball.
No, for sure. And I think that we kind of talked about in the past how the Bucks and the Clippers, some of these teams are just painful to watch sometimes. Like the flow isn't there. And there's like an unwillingness to adapt on the offensive end, at least. I think that it's if you think about it on paper though, like with this game, the Bucks had more rebounds. The Bucks didn't play a particularly bad game. I think Chris Paul's third quarter takeover just kind of blew the top off of any kind of possibility of like the Bucks trying to steal this game 1 out from Phoenix. But like, I think it's a good question because the Bucks haven't really adapted on offense and it's gone up to this point. Do you really even think they have to make a lot of adjustments? I feel like this game replayed 4 times. I don't want to overuse that scenario, but like it probably goes the Bucks way at least once.
The Bucks showed me a lot last night, and for a second there, I thought that they were kind of the dominant team and they were going to run away with it. But what I saw from them was that like they've made it this far, and I don't think they're going to make it back to the finals again because their team, it's so defensive, but it's just not very efficient or well run. Like the lineup they have of Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, PJ Tucker, Giannis, and Brook Lopez defensively is an extremely good lineup. PJ Tucker, Brook Lopez, and Giannis all combined to like just get so many rebounds, or should combine to get so many rebounds. Like it makes sense on paper, but Chris Middleton is going ISO. Giannis is just charging the rim. PJ Tucker and Brook Lopez are setting screens and catching threes as they should be. Drew Holiday is getting assists where he can, but not putting in much production. When you add it all up, it's not enough. Like it's not a ton of offense. They're not very deep team. Jeff Teague played 10 minutes last night. I can't believe that Jeff Teague is in contention
playing minutes in a
now.
finals game.
In a finals game.
That actually, like, I was talking with a friend with that. It's like Teague makes like 2 layups in these games, and like you kind of get pissed. You're like, like what's like, is this guy good all of a sudden? But he's not. But back to your point on the starting lineup, they did shy away from the Brook Lopez experiment in terms of just like, can him and Giannis kind of like play this dual, like they're both bigs, but they both can kind of catch it on the wing, kind of do something with it. Brook Lopez is just a complete liability against Chris Paul. Like when they play this drop coverage and Chris Paul gets by the first line of defense and he can dribble into any 3 of his mid-range jumper hot zones, whether it be like gets by the first guy and goes to the elbow, gets by the first guy, gets the shot on the outside of the paint, right near the edge, like he does every single time. Like he can get this in the Brook Lopez drop coverage like anytime he wants. And I think that kind of similar to the Jazz series when you saw Rudy Gobert get exposed in that series, which I don't want to rehash and be the anti-Rudy Gobert club, but I think you look at Brook Lopez and you see the same problem of like, all right, this guy is just going to dissect our drop coverage defense every time. He has the tools to do so. Now you have to play Giannis at the 5, and that means you have a guy like Connaughton, a guy like Jeff Teague, a guy like Bryn Forbes playing the amount of minutes they have. I mean, Connaughton played 30 minutes last night. Like, that's what you get when you only can play Brook Lopez for 23 just because you're being exploited.
Yeah. Brook Lopez, as soon as he was switched on to Booker or Chris Paul last night, immediately was blown by. That experiment did not work well at all. And honestly, because he was out, it made like the Dario Saric injury that much less impactful.
It's
and
true.
He also like just honestly like no one on that team could do anything about DeAndre Ayton. Like you can put Brook Lopez in there, but it didn't stop Ayton from having 19 rebounds to Brook's 6. Like Giannis is eating up all of the Bucks rebounds, and like Jay Crowder's out there trying to grab boards, but otherwise it's pretty much just Ayton and then next in line. Like, I don't know, the Suns and Ayton, the way that he's been able to help them out this year and get better. Like I didn't see DeAndre Ayton being this good a year ago. I kind of thought he was a little bit of a bust, and now he's out in a finals game, like proving the big man position is still worth having in the NBA. It's something to see.
I mean, it's funny that not more than like, I think a year and a half ago, he was in like PED suspension.
Yeah.
And like, when you have a rookie or close to rookie, like getting into PED suspension, you just wonder like, all right, where is this career going to go? Like, what's the trajectory of guys busted for PEDs and within their first 2 years? What, like where, cause we all knew his potential. I think he's a great player. I do think that, I don't want to be a hater, but I think that this is the classic case of a guy who's going to come into early next season and just like not put up these numbers like he is now. Like, because during the regular season, it was a different story. I think he's maybe the Tyler Hero of this year.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, wait, is this second year guy? Is he actually like the third best center in the league behind Embiid and Jokic? And it's ridiculous if you think about it. But when you watch it in the last 2 playoff series, you're thinking, what's more valuable than being a guy who is 20-20 time and time again throughout the biggest games of the year? So, that's the predicament you're going to be in. But I want to focus on the game before we go on this, but I do want to make a quick point of guys you would want over DeAndre Ayton. And there's like Karl Anthony Towns. Like you take him over Ayton. If you're the Celtics or you're starting a team, I think like people are going to start making those questions of just like, Cat. What, you going to take Cat over Ayton? Like,
I think there's something to be said of like, do you want someone that has the intangibles to like carry a team, or do you want someone that does their job like so extremely well? Like if Ayton can eat up all the rebounds and just like catch lobs, like that's one thing. But if you want someone that will like lead your scoring attack, that's Cat. But if you're like a team like, I don't know, if you're the Warriors back when they had Andrew Bogut, like the perfect piece for them was Andrew Bogut to just set screens and get rebounds and be tall. And so like sometimes you need that center like DeAndre Ayton where it's just points and rebounds and blocks versus like a Cat, like you try and like maybe like if you believe he's going to carry your team offensively, you run the ball through him. Like you're not running the ball through DeAndre Ayton.
But you're not going to win running the ball through Cat. And no, I think that's why there's an Ayton conversation going on.
Yeah.
And that's why like you're going to have guys on Celtics blog going like, if Chris Paul goes to the Knicks or something, saying like, oh, Jaylen Brown for Ayton and Crowder, like are we like, what are we going to do that? And like, it's not that I'm saying it's preposterous. It's not preposterous. It's not outlandish like that, but it is a little overblown. Like, and I think that comparing guys like Ayton to the talent of a Cat or Jaylen Brown, I think is a little premature. At that point aside, I think what he does for the Suns is kind of goes back to your point about like, are people going to try to model this? Just because I think low key it's been happening before him. I think Jamal and Jokic, the way that they play off each other, they can get other people involved and play that 2-man game. Like, I think we might see more of that. So the big man being back conversation with Ayton, I think is definitely valid.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we saw it with Robert Williams this year. It's like, oh, he can't shoot threes. Can he defend perimeter players as well as Daniel Tice? Like, well, how about if you put the guy that eats all the rebounds and blocks all the shots in? Like, it's going to help you out.
Can he catch every lob?
I mean,
I'll say Robert Williams is Ayton in that category.
No, I agree. Ayton's he's doing the job that we pay Rob to do for a lot more. So
one could say that if Ayton had Robert Williams' hands, that he might be an all NBA type player right now, but
no one does.
that is true. Something I want to ask you of is, do you think this game not rigged? I don't want to say rigged, but we've talked about in the past. Was there a Phoenix has to win a game one Adam Silver call, or is this just a coincidence? I don't think it was as horribly efficient as people say.
I noticed that the Suns had way more free throws through most of the game, and that is kind of the way it ended. But also, like, they kept fouling Giannis, and he just missed everything. It's so crazy. Like, I feel like no other player in history has to deal with, like, this specific taunt that he's getting at the free throw line, which, like, undoubtedly affects him. Like, how could it not?
How could it affect everybody? Like, that is terrible. I was thinking about this, in the Hawks series. I actually commended Giannis for hitting, like, 60%. With that going on and not being afraid of getting fouled. Because I think a lot of people will be shitting their pants knowing that they had to go to the line with thousands, tens of thousands of people taunting them like that.
It's also like, if you're like, I know they're counting faster, but like once they get to 10 seconds, I'm kind of like rushing myself. Like, I don't know how you tune that out because it's the loudest anyone's ever cheered in an arena is when they're all just screaming, counting to 10.
It's messed up in some kind of way, but I would do it's 100% if it was like Celtics Bucks.
I would do it too. But if this is for the rest of his career, like he's the only player that's had like, I wonder if they'll start doing this to everyone. Like, no, it's just such a specific taunt that like has such a sting of an impact. Like,
this will end with the playoffs because if he wins, then no one's gonna do it anymore. If he loses, I think it's kind of like the joke is done. If you're in like the regular season. Like in like whenever the season starts, and it's just like you're trying to start the chant. I feel like no one's gonna back you up. it's a playoff.
Also, to just like learn how to shoot a free throw, like it's
hard. I think Giannis is just I don't know with his body how easy it is. He kind of looks with him when he shoots threes. It honestly is like he looks like a normal person. trying to like when he takes threes and it comes off the hand like half-heartedly, like kind of trusting, kind of not. He looks like such a normal person, and that I actually kind of enjoy that part of his game. But I think that with his knee, I want to touch on that because I think the second half, I think he actually did kind of look a little like hindered by it. He came out in the first half, and I actually couldn't believe my eyes. I'm like, this guy's knee was 45 degrees the other way not so long ago.
That block he had was crazy. The one where
the
he
block
like
was a
little
that was a LeBron.
Line.
If they had won the game, then that would have been known as such a more important block. But it's just like I'd really and I pray it doesn't happen this way, but it kind of reminds me of the KD thing, where it's like it's the final, so they rush him back, and then you're making them so vulnerable. They have kind of that similar frame, almost too big for reality, like body that like you're kind of scared every time Giannis goes up for that block or goes up for that driving layup, especially because he gets hacked all the time. What's your like? Where are you in terms of concern for Giannis in this series?
I saw the injury and it looked. I saw his knee bend the way back.
We all saw the horrible.
I think that he just has like super long limbs and like they might be a little more elastic than I'm used to seeing. And I honestly like he looked good enough to me last night that if at the end of the series, like, I've been playing hurt, like I won't really excuse that for them losing the series.
No way. It's kind of like I think with Embiid, we never knew. We're like meniscus tear, like how is he playing? And to this day, we still don't know how bad it was. But people don't say like, oh, the Sixers lost the Hawks, but it's because Embiid, and like in that same way, I guess the same thing will happen to Giannis because he does look comparable. But it's a hyperextension is hyperextension. A sprain is a sprain. It's taking a tendon and pulling it farther than it usually goes and then playing on it. And not just playing on it, playing the most intense set of basketball games of the year, so for me, I'm kind of concerned. I'm kind of put a pin on it, pray for it every night. That doesn't happen, but I just think that it's like they were saying like, oh, he would have played game 7. If there was a game 7, the Giannis would have played. I mean, yeah, of course. If you had a gun to his head saying don't play these next few playoff games, he would have played. So like I get it, but like I think that part of it can't go ignored. I in my mind, I think if the Bucks lose the series, I think it's certainly going to be an asterisk. Aside from that, just going forward to like game 2, I think some keys. It's like the role players on the Suns are actually so much more important than people give him credit for. I don't think Jay Crowder is going to go over in the next game. I think he's going to play some kind of factor. I think Devin Booker had a good first quarter. I think he's probably going to shoot better than 8 for 21. Like we'll see. Like I think there's a lot of room for Phoenix to grow, even though they took this game in kind of a dominating fashion that second half.
No, I completely agree. You surround the trio of Paul, Booker, and Ayton. You give them Bridges and Jay Crowder and Cam Johnson and Cam Payne. Like that surrounding duo, just hitting threes and like playing tough defense. It blends this unit together extremely well. The Bucks, on the other hand, like it's those guys in the starting lineup, and it doesn't get much deeper than that. Like Pat Connaughton had 8 points. That's like, I guess you could ask more from him in that sense, but they've got Jeff Teague playing. Like they need help wherever they can get it. And I mean, yeah, Brook Lopez was getting exposed out there, but he was also like one of the only people putting up points for them. Chris Middleton, I know he's gotten like a lot more credit and like he's like been their go-to guy in like end of the game situations. I still don't think he's that good. Like Giannis is going to have to be dropping like 30, 40 point triple doubles if they're going to win the NBA finals. I'm sorry.
Chris Middleton, I think showed me some things like, and maybe you say like, oh, it's the Hawks, but I mean, I think he has the ability to pull them out in the clutch situation. It's all about like Giannis taking them there and Middleton kind of taking it from that place. But I mean, he's so confusing. I think he's kind of going to be the next Paul George. I think we're going to look at this guy as like, all right, in any given playoff game, he's going to have 45 points and like carry them and just be this absolute like, oh, is Chris Middleton like a superstar? And then he'll have like 15 the next game on like 7 for 28 or something. And I think that that's going to be the last step for him as a player, is like just getting more consistent. Do I think that even at that is, at him in his best, are the Bucks going to be here next year? Like you said, I don't think so. I'm surprised that the Bucks are even here. I would not have, I think that them like kind of fighting through like all the doubters and kind of saying like getting lucky with some injuries as well. Like it's a big move for him, but if they don't win this one, then I don't know I don't know if they're ever really gonna win one, if I'm being honest. But we're jumping a little ahead. Like, what do you need to see from them? Like, to show you, like, I don't know. I kind of get demoralized after one game when it's like this. But what do you need to see from them to kind of change your mind?
I need to see Drew Holiday be like a third scorer and actually like carry some offensive load, because Giannis is all just like charging the basket. Like we've seen that. He's just transition. Chris Middleton is a lot of isolation. Drew Holiday is the one that's been creating a lot of offense for them, creating assists. If he can also score the ball, it's going to open up a lot more for them and allow them to keep up with the Suns, because truly I need to see them play better defense. But if this Suns team is just like got too much firepower, then they're going to have to match them. And if like Giannis, I need to see putting up 30 and 40-point triple doubles. And if that's not going to happen, then he needs more help. And so I need to see Drew Holiday like being a 20-point per game scorer. So in game 2, Drew Holiday has got to turn it on, and someone else other than Middleton, if not Drew Holiday, has to be able to score 20 points. And they also have to figure out how just to break down this unstoppable offense that is based on mid-ranges. I feel like if you just get a good contest in the mid-range, you should be able to guard a little more. But they're guarding them at the 3 so heavily and then at the basket so heavily. The mid-range has been very much open for the 2 best mid-range scorers in the league. And then, whenever Brook Lopez isn't in, DeAndre Ayton's kind of just catching lobs and doing damage.
I and back to your point about like, is this team a model? I will say that part of it, like the mid-range has been kind of neglected for the past kind of decade of NBA basketball. And that could be a weakness in defensive schemes, that like who's going to like go out and try to contest the Chris Paul elbow fadeaway. And that's not even occurred in people's minds in the last decade. So at that part, I do agree. I feel like I need to see, and this is tough. This is where you think about Dante DiVincenzo, like what he would have given them, because he's just another guy to bring off the bench. And if you did this small lineup with Giannis at the 5 with Dante DiVincenzo, and I know I sound like a moron saying if Dante DiVincenzo was in this finals, it'd be a different scenario, but it's true. And I do think that I'm going to have to look at either Connaughton, Forbes, or Jeff Teague. One of those 3 guys is going to have to step up, because when they do play that lineup with Giannis at the 5, they have put themselves in a position to win. Like that's when they started to come back in these games. That's when the Suns couldn't just abuse the drop coverage that the Bucks play all the time. Like one of those guys has got to put up 20, and it's a tall order for old Jeff Teague. He's not Hawks Jeff Teague anymore, but it's gonna have to be one of them, and it's gonna have to be big. It's gonna have to be soon. I don't know. It's who knew a final series would come down throwing out Jeff Teague, Pat Connaughton, or Forbes. Bryn Forbes would step up to the plate. But I do think that's one of what it boils down to for the Bucks, is that everyone else is going to put up their fair share.
If you told me at the beginning of the season the finals is going to come down to Jeff Teague, I'd be like, crap, like we're screwed.
The Celtics are winning.
It's not even for us. Like he's oh my god.
It's true. How did it come down to this? How
far we've fallen. We would have won these finals. Like, this is so frustrating. Like, we go play the Heat last year and don't make it. Like, all those times we had to go through LeBron. Like, this year, could have just walked in, won a quick banner.
Yep.
I wonder, like, how long until the next, like, chokehold dynasty approaches, because, like, are the Nets about to just go on, like, a 6-year tear, or is it going to be the Suns, like, Devin Booker is the next Kobe? Like, I don't know. This is, like, I'm going to enjoy the parody while we've had it. But this is a weird year. This is a weird year to be an NBA fan. Like, I had no idea who was going to come out at any point. And when it happened, I was kind of like, oh, wow.
Hey,
like
I'm actually down for this.
The Sixers lost. Wow.
Yeah, I do think it's a good point to end on, is like one, where the Suns are going to be, but also like the next dynasty. I think that I'm not so sure Kyrie's going to come back to the Nets. Yeah, you never know with that guy. And I'm serious. Like,
it's true. You never
who
know.
knows? Like, who knows what Kyrie is thinking? Like, if he does, which I'm sure, I'm pretty sure he will. But then you assume that they're the favorite, especially getting, injured players back that would have played a humongous role for them in this year's playoffs. Chris Paul, if he wins, the Suns kind of have to bring him back. But are you going to give this 36-year-old 4 years, $35 million a year? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if the Suns will bring him back. And at that point, guess who will? The Knicks.
Yeah, I think that Chris Paul is like going championship chasing after this. He's going to earn one. And he's be like, all right, I earned my one. I proved myself. Now I'm going to go get 3 more.
I hope that's where he goes. But I could also see him saying, I've got mine. I won my title. Let me get this fat paycheck from James Dolan real quick.
That's true.
I think is also like in the cards. But I'll tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be the Bucks. And this is kind of their chance.
They should have went and got him like before this season. The Suns did not get him for a lot.
Hey, depending on what Brad does, I'm just saying, we took a game off the Nets. We did. Come on. It doesn't mean nothing.
No.
Okay. Last point. Over under 4 weeks, Marcus Smart traded.
Well, according to sources, like players in the locker room didn't like Brad because of how much he favored Marcus Smart. So hypothetically, Marcus Smart's his boy. So I'm gonna. I
did not see that. That is hilarious.
Yeah, I understand it a little bit in that like he's just chucking threes out there. I don't know why that was never stopped, but also like we had so many injuries this year, and he was the only person like that could lead this team. So I won't hear.
If we were the coach, we would favor Smart too. We would.
Yeah.
We put up with more of a shit than others.
He's the only guy out there that gives a shit.
But good way to dodge a question, and I'm gonna go under. I think it. All right. I hope you're right. I hope it never. I hope you're over by 6 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, hopefully.
If it's under, then it needs to be like it needs to blow my head off. We need to get Dame. Sorry. I'm not doing it for DeAndre Ayton.
Okay, so Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and who else for Dame? It's at least another first.
Maybe Rob.
That hurts. That hurts.
See all 3 of those guys go.
I don't think that'd be smart. I'm serious. I think we can probably get Beal without trading Brown or something.
That'd be crazy.
Let's try to
keep Brown.
Let's try to do that. But yeah, we'll see.
I'm down for it. All right. That does it for us on this week of Celtics Double Take. Excited for the rest of these finals. Game 2 tomorrow night. James, you have any last words?
I'm just saying, if you need an answer and you're the Bucks, Giannis's brother is sitting right there for the potato. I want to see some Thanasis. I want to see the power of brotherhood come out and like a Suns are up like 3-0, and then like they put in Thanasis and he discards something special. That's the best case scenario for this final.
He's Giannis with a jump shot all of a sudden.
I'm ready to see it.
All right. Follow us on YouTube, Double Take. Follow us on iTunes, Celtics Double Take. Peace out. Go Suns. Suns in 4. We'll see you next time.
Hopefully. See you.